This week, we're talking about two video games that I'm absolutely hyped about. Games Workshop is raising its prices, and there's a couple of firstborn Space Marines that are going to be rotated out of the line. But hopefully they're coming back. This and more in this week's Hobby News. I'm Angela, you're watching Hobby Night. Now let's get to it.
I'm Andy Serkis, and I voice the character Vardan Kai, a powerful Grand Master of the Grey Knights in the up-and-coming Warhammer 40,000 Chaos Gate Daemon Hunters. Warhammer 40,000 brings with it such a unique universe and a passionate fan base that it makes building your character in this dark, war-torn galaxy a fascinating experience. I hope you enjoy the trailer, and I'll see you aboard the Baleful Edict.
This is Inquisitor Cartha Vakir of the Ordo Malleus.
This is Grand Master Vardan Kai responding, Inquisitor.
I have foreseen dire omens for this sector. Already Nurgle's poxwalkers roam free. I believe they are the symptom of a much greater cancer. The Grey Knights must purge this darkness, lest it swallow us whole.
Intriguing. However, the galaxy is full of unsolved mysteries. Proof is drawn from hard data, Inquisitor, which you have yet to provide.
I know where it came from, and now is the time to stop it, before this galaxy is consumed by chaos.
Such a blasphemous sight will not be unguarded.
Let it not be said that the Grey Knights held back their hand against the tide of coming darkness. You are our burning blade in the dark.
I see it now. 5 great demonic entities tore into existence here, and now they lie in wait. We must destroy this foul place.
How desperate the Sigillite Legion has become. Behold my wrath!
I wanted to start this week's news off by talking about Warhammer 40,000 Chaos Gate Daemon Hunter, because we haven't talked about this game since the Warhammer Skulls event in 2021, and there's a lot more new information out about it now. Let's go over briefly what it's specifically going to be, because it is a fast-paced, turn-based tactical RPG where you are playing as Grey Knights, who are trying to get back home to Titan, and your ship is damaged, an Inquisitor shows up, and then you realize, oh my gosh, there's Death Guard everywhere, Nurgle's around, and you're having to fight off a plague called the Bloom before it takes over the sector. I really like the narrative theme of this, partially because it involves my Nurgle boys, the Death Guard, and we get to see a lot of units, which we'll talk a little bit more about in a bit. But it also is really exciting because this game is being written by Aaron Dembensky, which is the man who wrote Hell's Reach. So I'm expecting really great things narratively in this game. Additionally, we know one of the confirmed voice actors for Grand Master Vardan Kai, who is going to be Andy Serkis, which is the man who voiced Golem, and is one of the, I think, gun runners in Black Panther, or the arms dealers or something. I'm really excited for this. I think that man is just amazing, and I love his voice. So I'm really looking forward to be guided through my campaign by the Grand Master, voiced by Andy. It's gonna be amazing. Now, I personally am a huge fan of tactical games, and like I said, this is a big tactics game. So if you like grid movement, if you're a fan of XCOM or Mechanicus, this game might be right up your alley. This seems like, after speaking with the designers a bit, that movement and positioning is going to be a huge deal, and I'm all about that right now. I've really gotten into that. If you saw my Undaunted Normandy review, positioning was really key in that, and it's going to be really key in this game as well. But not just because you're wanting to, get a good shot on the enemy or make sure that your Grey Knights are protected so that they're not getting shot, but also because you want to be manipulating the environment, you want to be avoiding hazards that might be coming down, all of that kind of stuff. And it looks like there's gonna be plenty of opportunity to do that. The environment is something specifically that I'm really excited about in this game, because not only does it look really cool, and it's also totally covered in Nurgle stuff because Death Guard is all over the place and they're a big theme of this, so I'm just going to enjoy that aesthetic a lot. but the environment is actually quite destructible and you can use it both to your advantage and the enemy can use it to their advantage. And there's going to be a really great strategy of trying to figure out how to best to either work around it or use it to your advantage. Like I said, you can actually break pillars down, knock them onto your enemy, you can break bridges and cause your enemy to have to reroute, so it gives you more time, especially if you're trying to race towards an objective or get to a certain spot on the board. There's tons of things you can do in the environment, and it'll change as warp surges appear on the battlefield, which are things that can either add in reinforcements for the enemy, it can change the environment, adding additional hazards, which you might need to waypoint your way around to keep your knights safe, or it can mutate the enemies that are already on the board, enhancing them and buffing them up, and just hurting your Grey Knights, which is not something you want to have happen. Now, we've covered gameplay a little bit. Let's talk about the actual enemies, because as you might know, I love me the Death Guard. They are my boys. I run them in my games, and I'm a little bummed to know that you can't actually play as them quite yet in the game. This is a single player adventure where you are just playing as the Grey Knights, but I'm very hopeful that down the line, maybe some sort of multiplayer will come into the game, and that'll give me the option to actually run the Death Guard, because there's lots of cool models that are coming in this game that are going to actually be the enemies. Some of my favorites are going to be the Hellbrute, because he just looks badass. The amazing tall Myphetic Blighthauler, who stood up real high in the very first trailer that we saw and just delighted me so much. I am so pleased to see that unit in the game. I cannot wait to destroy them. There's also some bloat drones, which are really cool. There's of course Plague Marines, but also the Terminators, Blightlord Terminators. I almost forgot the word Blightlord. And honestly, I'm just a huge sucker for Terminators. I love that thick, chonky armor, and I can't wait to see just tons of them on the field for me to try to destroy. Now, we have talked about the enemies, we've talked a little bit about the gameplay and the environment and everything. Now let's actually talk about our Grey Knights, because they are quite customizable, which I'm excited to see, but it also means I might get really, really attached to them, and there is some permadeath in this game, so you can actually lose your boys, which is gonna suck when I name one and then they die, and then I'll be just extra, extra sad about it. But naming them is not the only customization you can do. You can also change their hair, their skin tone, you can adjust some of their crests on their armor, as well as just some of their actual armor pieces. Plus, there are going to be 8 total classes that you can play in the game. There's 4 that you start with, which is the Justicar, the Purgator, the Apothecary, here, and the Interceptor. Then you get 4 advanced classes that will unlock over time, which include the Chaplain, the Paladin, the Librarian, and the Purifier. I think all of these are going to be pretty fun. It's going to be interesting to see how they synergize together, and I can't wait to actually just try each of them out and see which ones I prefer. I know for sure I'm definitely going to have Apothecary because I just like healing, but I also love Chaplains, so I can't wait to get that later in the game when I actually unlock it. Plus, I did want to mention, when we were talking with the developers, we were able to ask questions and everything, and one of the things that they called out as upgrades that also change the appearance and allow you some customization in the game is when you're upgrading your weapons. One little nice touch is that when you do that, not only does it change your stats and everything and give you bonuses there, but it also changes it visually and adds a purity seal to the weapon, which I just think is a really nice in-world little thing to do that doesn't take a lot of effort, but as a fan of the universe and the lore, it's really nice to see developers include that kind of extra little bit there. So I'm really, really looking forward to this game. I'm definitely planning on playing it on the channel when it comes out. I know we have currently a Total War Warhammer 3 Let's Play coming, because that's gonna hit stores first, but as soon as this comes out, if I've got free time and I can add it in, I'm gonna get to it as soon as I can, because I really do like the look of this game. I'm excited to see the Death Guard in there. I don't know, I haven't decided yet. There are 2 options that you can pre-order right now. You can either get the standard edition for $44.99 USD or your regional equivalent, which just gets you the game and everything that you would want to play, but you can get the Castellan Champion edition, which is $54.99 USD or your regional equivalent, and that includes the original game OST, which is really cool. Normally these games tend to have great music, but the other and more important cool thing about getting the Castellan edition is that you get Castellan Garen Crow, which he will join your campaign partway through. Now, I don't know what partway through means. Like, I don't know if that's very close to the end or midway or relatively early, or if it's variable depending on like what you've done with the bloom and how much it's advanced and how much of the sector it's taken over. But I'm going to be very interested in seeing him in the game, seeing what his voice is like, and I think fans of the Grey Knights are going to be pleased to see him. So it might be worth picking up if you're interested and just love the Grey Knights. I'd love to know what you guys are thinking about this game. I'm really excited for it, as I've said probably a bunch of times now, but I really want to know what your thoughts are. It's that time of the video where I interrupt to tell you about my Patreon and to let you know that we just added a Discord server which all tiers get access to. So if you're wanting a way to chat with me, share with me your projects, or just tell me what board games you're playing, definitely make sure to check the link below and check out my Patreon. All right, we've talked about one cool video game. Now we're gonna move into a little bit more of a sour note and talk about Games Workshop upping their prices. Due to inflation, Games Workshop is increasing their prices on their products effective March 7th, 2022, so just around the corner. And most of the items will only be going up about 5%, so you'll only be seeing really an increase of about $1 or $2 across the board. It shouldn't feel too bad. However, there are some items that are going up a little bit more than that, and this is where people, I think, are a little bit more bummed about this announcement. Books, scenery, and any resin models are going to go up 10% in price, and then outliers, aka a lot of the less popular models, are going to see a 20% increase, which includes Blood Bowl, unfortunately, which I am super, super bummed to see because I adore those models. It doesn't get played enough. I want more people to play it, and increasing the prices is not going to encourage that, so this is one that I'm personally just very upset about. But honestly, these price changes are not unexpected. And in fact, I'm kind of surprised we didn't see them earlier, just considering everything that's been going on, especially in the UK. Between COVID and Brexit, things have been hard, inflation is real, and prices do eventually go up. And Games Workshop, for the most part, in my opinion, has done a decent job of holding that back up until this point. And even now, I still understand the price hikes. It's sad to see, especially when right now I feel like there's a lot of mixed messaging happening because Games Workshop just announced record profits, and then they also increased their prices, which doesn't really look good to the consumers because they're like, well, you're making tons of money. Why are you increasing the pricing on us? It doesn't quite work one-to-one like that, and it's unfortunate to see the confusion, but I do understand why everybody's upset. I still am, even though I do understand why they're doing it. But I'd love to know your thoughts. I know this is a big discussion topic right now, so tell me how much you are upset by this. Do you get it? Do you think it's reasonable? Let me know what you're feeling. We've got a little bit more sad news to cover, and that is because there are a number of first-born Space Marines that are going to be moving out of rotation, at least temporarily, according to Games Workshop. They promised that these models will return, but they haven't given us any actual dates as to when they might be coming back. But it does look like it's a bunch of models that are either probably less often used because it's named characters for chapters where they are cool, but maybe just not the most valuable to the roster right now, especially in 9th edition. And also just models that are all resin. And I do think they're trying to slowly just get rid of those out of the way. Plus, this gives them the opportunity to make a lot of these new characters and models as Primaris, which is what I actually expect we'll end up seeing. I don't know how quickly it'll happen, but I do expect to see it. Now, what's actually been removed? It's a number of Blood Angel / Flesh Terror models, about 5 of them, 4 Ultramarine models, 3 Space Wolf models, a sprinkling of characters from the Dark Angels, Death Watch, White Scars, and I think maybe 1 Grey Knight model, I can't remember now. But the ones that have me the saddest, and I'm really bummed to see them go, although I do own both these models, so I already have them in my collection. But the ones that I'm sad to see is my boy, Pedro Cantor of the Crimson Fists, as well as Captain Lysander of the Imperial Fists. My Dorn boys are going away, and I hope they come back really fast as Primaris, because honestly, Pedro Cantor as a Primaris, like, Chapter Master would be sick, and I'd so buy that immediately. So GW, make it happen and bring these guys back fast, please. Hey guys, so recently on the channel I've been wanting to expand the kind of content we're making, and recently I produced my first board game review for Undaunted Normandy, and I'm really proud of what we did, and I'd love to know your guys' thoughts on the video and whether or not you'd like to see more content like that from us. I really love board games, I love talking about them, so I really think this is a cool opportunity for us, but I need your guys' feedback. So make sure to go check out the video and let me know your thoughts. Next, we need to talk about some more Aeldari updates because the Codex is coming up and they're gonna keep sprinkling out some spicy goodness for us to know about. First up, we gotta take a look at the new Corsairs because they showed us one previously and now they've shown us the rest, and I love all of them. I want dozens of the Corsairs because I just think they look really cool. Kudos to the Golden Demon team that paints these, or whoever for GW is painting these models, because they did an excellent job on the color scheme. It really makes me want them a lot. I think the head sculpts are great. I think all of the poses, frankly, are pretty awesome. Like, there's good momentum with all of them. None of them are too stiff or stilted. I love the guy with the banner that looks like Rufio. It's just perfect. I love all of them. They're fantastic. I can't wait to paint them. We didn't just get Corsairs though. We do also need to talk about our lovely Avatar of Khaine, because we've stared at him a bunch and he's glowed up real well, but now we've got to take a look at his stat lines and they're also looking really, really good. He's a lot faster now. He can move 10 inches. He has maintained his hitting of 2+ for his ballistic skill as well as his weapon skill, which is great. He now has 7 attacks, which I think is more than, I think he had 4 before, and that sucked. So now he's got 7, and that's great. So he can just like smack opponents around. It's great. Plus he's tougher and stronger too. That also went up. So really he just got a bunch of boosts, and or his 2-ups for his ballistic and weapon skill just stayed the same. It's overall very, very excellent. It's looking good. Plus, we need to talk about the Wailing Doom, because there's 2 different profiles you can take for the melee version, one of which will just bitch slap knights across the table because it's got a strength ×2, AP -5, and does d6 + 2 damage, which just is amazing. It's really good. The Sweeping Blow also is pretty good, but it's more for your infantry. And then there's, of course, the Wailing Doom for shooting. And this has a special ability that I think is pretty fun. Each time you score a hit on a model, you draw a line from the Avatar of Khaine to the model that you scored the point on, and anything that crosses over that line, that unit takes a mortal wound. I love weapons that do that, like the where you draw the line and just it explodes around everything. So I always think that's really fun. You see it a lot in Apocalypse games, and so I just really love seeing it integrate into the just standard 40K tabletop game, because it just, like I said, I think it's cool. Plus, he also has an ability called Molten Form, which gives him a 4-up invulnerable, and halves the damage allocated to the model when he takes a wound, which is frankly pretty good. Honestly, the Avatar of Khaine is looking pretty strong. I can't wait to pick him up and put him on the table and also get him painted, because man, these Aeldari are looking really cool to paint. We need to talk about Magan Ra, because we got some more information about him as well, and about his weapons, because we took a look at the Avatar of Khaine. Now we need to look at our Phoenix Lord. He has a 36-inch range, Assault 6, Strength 7, AP -2, Damage 2 gun, which is great for taking out, honestly, Space Marines, which is good. Although my Death Guard laugh, because I will say that every time there's a Damage 2 weapon, because I'm very proud of my Death Guard being able to reduce that down by 1. It makes me very, very happy. On mortal wounds, or you score mortal wounds on unmodified 6 with this weapon as well. And it's just really, really good for getting rid of the Space Marines, like I said. There's also the Mog tier, which is the melee version, which has a strength 2, AP -2, and damage 2. So still, again, pretty efficient at getting rid of infantry and those Space Marines. He also gets an ability called the Favorite of Cain, and this I think is pretty cool. It gets him a 4+ invulnerable save. He can only lose a max of 3 wounds per phase. He also has an aura ability called the Harvester of Souls, which adds 2 to the leadership characteristic and gives the objective secured rule to the Dark Reapers within 6 inches of him, which is pretty substantial. Getting objective secure on something that normally doesn't have it is always good, especially in the competitive scene. So this is going to end up being, I think, very valuable for Aeldari players going forward. And interestingly, Games Workshop did call out that all Phoenix Lords are going to have similar aura abilities that'll affect their Aspect Warriors as well, giving them buffs that are relevant to those Aspect Warriors. I think this is a really nice little just, thematic thing to do. It works really well. I'm very excited to see it.
In Total War Warhammer 3, multiplayer is bigger than ever, with more players and more modes available than any previous entry in the Total War series. Enter the Realm of Chaos, Warhammer 3's standard campaign, where up to 8 players can battle it out in any configuration of cooperative or competitive play. Delve into Cathay's darkest hour with the Darkness and Disharmony mode, where again up to 8 players bring about Grand Cathay's salvation or its destruction. Or embark on a more intimate venture with up to 3 players in the Something Rotten in Kislev mode. These additional modes were designed primarily with multiplayer in mind and provide a more focused campaign that can be completed in a shorter amount of time. Because, let's face it, it's hard enough to get friends together as it is. Let's take a deeper look at the Realm of Chaos. At the start of a standard multiplayer campaign, players can choose to play as a team or go free-for-all. During the multiplayer campaign, all players will take their turns simultaneously, a first for the Total War series. Move quickly enough, and you can avoid being attacked by another player by moving your army out of their reach. Once all players have ended their turn, the game moves on and the AI takes their turns. For those who prefer a slower-paced campaign, the ability to have sequential turns remains in the game. When a player enters a battle, be that against AI or another player, players on the same team will automatically enter as a spectator on the side of their teammate. They can then be granted units to play with by the ally in control. Should a player hold no allegiances in this battle, they can act like a mercenary and join whichever side they like. Bribing your friends into helping you out has never been more attractive. This is Warhammer like never before. Big, ambitious, and full of chaos. With more ways to play, more people to play against, and more instruments to wage war with, there's never been a better time to butcher your acquaintances. After all, this is Total War, not Total Friends.
All right, and last but not least, I wanted to end on some more video game news because we got a doozy of a reveal from Creative Assembly for Total War Warhammer 3 this week, because we have up to 8-player multiplayer co-op happening in Total War Warhammer 3, and I am so freaking hyped. It's going to be so cool. So let's talk a little bit about it. There are going to be 3 smaller campaigns that you can play as if you're doing multiplayer and co-op that are going to either focus on the Chaos Gods, Cathay, or Kislev, depending on which one you pick, and they will have the opportunity to have up to 8 players playing in them, which is absolutely insane to me. And the big kicker, the thing that makes this even more insane, is the fact that you will all be able to take your turn simultaneously. Now, you can turn on the old way of doing it and have individual turns being taken and everything, which really prolongs the game out. But if you're all going simultaneously, not only can you fuck with each other and actually like do some stuff, especially if you're doing something where you're not working together and you're actually competing against one another, but it also just means that like for streamers and YouTubers who want to do co-op campaigns, but previously were like, oh my God, we can't because recording and filming and then editing that will just take forever. As somebody who has previously recorded and filmed co-op Total War Warhammer 2 campaigns, it is time consuming to go through them because you gotta wait for the other player to go, and then you of course have to wait for all the AI to go, and especially when you're playing in Mortal Empires, which is not out yet in Total War Warhammer 3, you can only do these other campaigns, but I imagine eventually it will, and maybe that will have multiplayer with up to 8 people as well, which will absolutely be bonkers. Could you imagine? Oh my god, it'll be so good. Regardless, we need to talk about what's actually coming this February, very soon actually. I think the 17th is when it's out. Very, very soon. Oh, it's just gonna be so good. I'm rambling a bit because I'm really excited. Like, co-op Total War Warhammer has been one of my favorite things. I played a ton of it with my husband because it's just one of the games that we both gravitated towards. We both like sunk 600 plus hours into the game or something ridiculous like that, and that's individually. So like combined, it's ridiculous. And I know that's not like super insane, but that's just more hours than I've ever put into a game before. So the fact that multiplayer is that much more accessible, more people can do it, and it seems like it's gonna be streamlined and not take quite as long as it once did to do, but still be a ton of fun and just like, I don't know, I imagine it's gonna be really aggressive feeling, and I think that's gonna be very exciting, and I just can't wait to actually get my hands on this game and start playing with the Chaos Cultists, because we are going to be doing a Total War Warhammer 3 Let's Play series very soon. As soon as it comes out, we'll be doing some testing off camera, and obviously, and then we'll get started on a campaign for you guys, and it's gonna be so much fun. I hope you guys are looking forward to it. All right, that has been it for this week in hobby news. We've got some really exciting news with a bunch of video game stuff, which is all cool, between Chaos Gate and Total War Warhammer 3. And of course, we got a little bit of disappointing news directly from Games Workshop about their prices and some of the Firstborn Space Marines being taken off of rotation and no longer being purchasable. I'd love to know your thoughts below. I have been Angela, you have been watching Hobby Night, and before I head off, I want to give a huge thank you to my patrons for allowing content like this to continue to be made. You guys are awesome, and we wouldn't be doing this without you, so thank you very, very much. Anyways, I will see you guys next week with some more video game content, news, and a brand new hobby video. Bye.